Hey guys, it's Taimou from Team Envy here. Today we're going to go through DPS role and what you can do to increase your SR on the ladder. DPS role has evolved multiple times during the spawn of Overwatch. Right now I would say you're more of an assassin when you're playing the hitscan role that I am playing, or when you're playing the flex DPS role like my teammate Kevster would be playing, you're more of a support for your tanks. So here we are in game. King's Row will be covering how to play the 4 most prevalent heroes in the meta: McCree, Reaper, Widowmaker, and Mei. In the current meta, a lot of people tend to think that McCree should stay with the team all the time, but that's not necessarily true. I think McCree has a very assassin playstyle right now, where you should definitely start with your team, but after the initial fight happens, you should try to go for a flank or use your flashbang to peel for your Reinhardt. So here, let's think that it's a 6 versus 6 game. Both teams have a Reinhardt, both teams have a Mei. You're playing meta versus meta. McCree starts with the team. You're chilling here, you're poking on their shield, you're coming back, and then what do you do after their shield dies? Well, you have 2 choices basically. You can either flashbang the Reinhardt and headshot the Reinhardt, or you will do a flank. There's 2 good choices in this map especially, where you can either go left side and you go from the top and you can shoot people from behind from high ground, where you're hard to hit and you have easy targets to shoot. The other one would be after the initial fight, you go right side and you use your flashbang to get a fast pick on somebody. Flashbang to tap, get out, and then you basically won the fight. McCree definitely feels more like a flanker rather than playing with the team, but I think it's very stylistical. You can definitely do both. I think you should do both, so you're not so easy to read per se. Lately, McCree's ultimate got buffed. It still isn't it still serves the same thing. You usually, when you see multiple people, and even when they're behind a shield, you usually just want to call a shield or defense mage use a bubble from your team, where you use your ult, you push with it, you get speed, and you usually want to hold it as long as you can so you can maximize the damage. Say, even if there's a Reinhardt and 2 people like an Ana and a Lucia behind the Reinhardt, and if you lock the skulls on these 3 people, if you do enough damage so that the Reinhardt shield dies, say you lock for like 4 seconds all of these 3 targets, the first shot will actually break the Reinhardt shield, and then the next 2 shots will kill the Reinhardt and the Lucia or the Ana, depending on their positioning. So keeping your ult actually is better than you think, but there's definitely situations where you can just use it to gain space. You shouldn't think about it too much, because like McCree's power doesn't come from his ult. His power comes from being able to do 200 damage really fast on a flank, or having a flashbang on a Reinhardt's face. To summarize McCree, your main playstyle will be flanking, and you will be looking for this fast assassinations on 200 HP targets. So here we are on Reaper. Reaper right now is basically the space maker of your team. With Reaper, you want to go with your team, go as 6 as much as you can. Just go shoot their Reinhardt, go shoot their Diva, just shoot the big things in the front. So that automatically creates, since you're being so aggressive in the front, that creates a lot of pressure on the enemy healers to look at their tanks, because you're doing so much damage to them. The Reaper is definitely like a very straightforward character, but you can definitely find opportunities to find use of your teleport or your ultimate. When a fight is about to happen, you have 2 choices, where you either walk in with the team, you shoot the enemies, or your Reaper comes in, you TP, say around there. I think that's a pretty good spot to TP, because nobody sees you You're behind them, and then you can find a target to shoot and maybe kill with 2 shots. Your Wraith form should be used for 2 things. It should be 1 to dodge a crowd control ability like sleep or flashbang, or you can use it to run away since it makes you immune to everything. You can get away from Zarya's ultimate, you can dodge D.Va ultimate, you can do so many things with it, and it's so it's such a fluid ability to use. I think it's very easy to use, but it's also really easy to mess up. So the more you play Reaper, you're gonna get better at using it. I find a lot of people misusing Reaper's ultimate these days. Sure, there's like a very clear way of like, say, I will be hiding here and there's people under me and I just drop down, I shoot, and then I use my ultimate. But I see a lot of people doing it where they run into the team, they use their Wraith form and then they ultimate, but that's usually the path to destruction where you don't really you just get flashbanged, or you get slept, or you get Reinhardt ultimate and you die, or you even just a normal Lucia boop, like you get booped once and you're out of the team and you do nothing. So definitely use your TP to go in, find a target to ultimate, shoot, use your Q, and then use your shift to get away instead of going in with the shift. For the recap, Reaper, your teleport ability is your most offensive ability. You use it to go in, shoot people. You want to use your shift to get away and stay with your team. Mei is the most important character, I would say, by far right now in the game. You're basically a walking map editor. You have amazing crowd control, you have good damage, and you're basically a lifeline for all of your team. So all of your team supports you and you support them. Your main objective as Mei right now would be getting big freezes on the enemy tanks, if possible, of course. You want to use your wall to say there's a Reinhardt and a Zarya here. You obviously, and let's say you have 2 ways of using your wall. You either split the enemy tanks from having heals, like say their Ana is right there, their tanks are there. You use the wall to separate their healers so they can't heal their tanks, and then you just push in with your team, you press mouse 1 on them, then you headshot them, they're dead. Very easy, right? Or then you can use your wall to get space where, say their team is spamming you coming out of the choke, you can just use your wall, straight up, use it there, take space here, wait for your wall cooldown to come back up, 6 seconds. You tell your team, okay, we're gonna push up, I have wall now, and then you do the same thing as I mentioned earlier. Pretty simple, right? Using your ultimate as Mei right now, it's mostly dependent on the enemy cooldown, so you don't want to throw it when the enemy D.Va has defense matrix, or the Zarya has 2 bubbles, or they have a speed boost available. So you want to make sure you somehow eliminate those things before you use your ultimate. Sure, there's times where you kind of have to lob it, but don't worry about it too much. I think it's better to save your ultimate rather than just throw it and lose the fight. Try to save your ice block unless you really have to use it. It's very important for you to have it, especially when you're using your ultimate, because there's a certain, like, it takes time for people to freeze up. So say you wall up, you ultimate, you freeze people, and then you shift because you're about to die, and then you just wait for people to freeze, and then you shoot them in the head. Like, you want to imagine yourself holding hands with your Reinhardt. You always, wherever your Reinhardt goes, you go, and wherever you want to go, your Reinhardt goes. So you want to establish that kind of connection with your Reinhardt player. Last but not least, we're on Widowmaker here. Widowmaker does the same role as McCree, but instead of being close, you want to be further away than the average McCree. Remember to communicate to your teammates that since you're playing Widow, your front line will not be nearly as strong as they would be with McCree. So please ask your team to play a bit slower so you can have time to try to get picks on the squishy targets of the enemy team. So Widowmaker is supposed to take angles You hold high grounds. You have a very easy way of holding high grounds with your shift and getting away from other targets. So you can either run away, take long angles, just don't put yourself, try to not put yourself under threat, and just enjoy shooting at people. I think there's two really good scenarios when you should abide by when you use Widowmaker's ultimate. First one is, before a fight, it's always good to use Widowmaker's ultimate defensively, so you can see the enemy team if they're going for flanks. That kind of stops them from trying to flank, and it gives your team the opportunity to make the move first. The second way of using Widowmaker's ult would be for personal gain. Whenever you're going for a flank and you want to get fast picks on somebody, obviously do remember that when you use your ultimate, it gives an all-out warning, and it gives your general location away. So before using your ultimate and trying to flank, try using your ultimate with your team and then using your grapple to reposition, so you don't give up your position instantly. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope you can apply some of the tips into your own gameplay, and I'll see you guys in top 500. Peace.